for the delay, everyone. As we said, that I'm from Eurodoc. My name's Julianne, and I am the skills officer. So today I'll be talking more about the transferable skills and competencies you have unknowingly gained during your doctoral training, and specifically how you can communicate those in a clear and concise manner in order to make sure you are competitive and knowledgeable about who you are and your strengths. So the first thing that usually comes to mind is, what skills do I have? And as doctoral candidates and researchers in academia, we usually stick to the same ones that pop in our head. We're good at communication, technical knowledge, project skills, teamwork. But these are the skills that are coming to our head at the beginning, and there are pretty generic skills that all of us have, and do not really set us apart from the wide range of people that are out there. Even though we've had this amazing technical experience or this amazing academic experience through our careers. So Eurodoc has looked into this more and really created this skills matrix, which really goes into depth all the transferable skills that an early career researcher or a doctor or a candidate actually has. And these are, as you can see on the screen, hopefully not only just research, but also include teaching, interpersonal skills, communication, like career development, cognitive, digital, and then things that you don't really think about, but enterprise and mobility. So you can read a bit more about this. We have a report out where you can find out more and really see where you fit in this skill set. However, your training, one way or another, has built this skill set that, and these competencies, even though you might not know it. So why is it important to clearly communicate your skills? So apart from wanting to stand out and being that competitive candidate, whether it's for your next postdoc, an industry job, or additional career opportunities, you want to make sure you're presenting yourself as an insightful, well-rounded candidate. You want to be doing this in order to make that first impression that you do not have very much time to do, especially when you're even in beginning your job search. You want to be making those impressions to your community, your colleagues, setting your network up as someone who, and setting your network up so people know you as being a well-rounded candidate and good at what your skill set. So a lot of problems that researchers and early career researchers have is how to communicate your skills and present your skills in a way that shows that your technical knowledge, it can be extrapolated to a larger or different area, whether it be a communications job, or whether it be some industry job, or even a job in Spotify or YouTube. So in order to present these skills, you need to first take a step back and understand the strengths that you have. What do you feel are the ones that really set you apart? Also, how these skill sets link to the job or the opportunity that you're looking for. So really connecting both these two together. So you finally work this out. You've taken that step back and you've realized, these are my strengths. I'm good at this. How do I go from here? So a good way to present your skills and your competencies, especially in response to interview-based questions, is using the STAR method. So here you can see STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. So it's a really good method to breaking down your ability in a project or a situation and how you personally impacted in that situation. As doctoral candidates and early career researchers, we usually talk in terms of teams. We have done this. As a group, we have found. This is great, but an interviewer, whether it be industry or academia, also wants to know how you impacted that task or that project, whether it be something small or something more in depth. So STAR goes through these 4 topics where you first talk about your situation. So for instance, your job, the job that you had. Then T, task. You talk about what were the situation or tasks involved within this situation. A, action. What actions did you take to resolve this task? And what were the results, finally, of the actions that you took? This is a really good method, clear and concise, to go through in order to communicate your skill set to someone else. Especially if you're asked a question, whether it be, tell us a time that you've worked in a team, or tell us a time that you've shown leadership. This is a good way to break that down, but still bring that take-home message of your skills. So examples of using STAR. It's easy to say that this is a method you could use, but how can you break this down as an academic in order to really focus on the achievements you have and what you've brought and what your skills and competencies are? So here are 2 examples where a job here has asked for either teaching skills or finding research experience. Going through STAR, you can break down your impact on a project and clearly and concisely show how your skills have resulted in action and results. So here you have a postdoc who was tasked with lecturing students, and that action meant creating course material, lectures, assessing work, and group discussions. And the result meant that this person had a great pass rate and a student got an award. This is not necessary just for postdocs. A lot of students, many of you, also do teaching, and you do have these skills, even though you don't think about them at the top of your hat. So research funding, with this current situation, a lot of us have had to dig deep and try and find additional funds. So you can talk about how, as a researcher, you were able to, as a task, secure funding to do some more research. And you did this by constructing a grant and presenting the grant. And the funding meant that you had secure projects, papers, and some, including one sole author paper. So as you can see, this was a very clear way of communicating that skill, but also showing your impact in a project to someone who's asking for this criteria. Granted, you don't want to be sitting in an interview thinking STAR and accidentally fumbling through. So you want to start practicing a way to do this in a more clear and concise. So going back to the teaching experience using STAR, we have here an example where someone who's just been asked, tell us more about how you are as a teacher on your impact. So here you have a more concise way to explain this. So as a postdoc in biomed at my university, I was responsible for delivering modules in cell biology for both undergrad and postgrad students. So this is both situation and task. And then action is, to achieve this, I created course material, delivered lectures and assessed student work, and supervised student projects. So that was action. And then finally, last hit home is your results. Over a 3-year period, I achieved a 95% pass rate, and one student received an award for their high quality work. So a nice, clear way of showing how you as a potential employer or potential candidate are able to work in a group or work in a situation and lead that to result. So what about more in industry? Industry is not so much interested in looking at just how good you are at teaching or how good you are at finding funding. They're also looking at transferable or soft skills that will allow you to impact within their organization. So for instance, all of us on a day-to-day basis work with project management. You can easily break this down in STAR again to talk about how you as a researcher manage the research project with its budget and to be clearly to be completed on time. And to do this, you identified your deadlines and milestones, you managed your personnel and resources, and you also just made a plan. This is something all of us, even within your PhDs, are doing on a daily basis. But what we struggle to do is focus on the result, which is here. You finish the project on time and in budget, definitely within budget, because we have research grants that don't give us extra money, unfortunately. And then funding for, well, in this case, someone did get extra money, and we're able to get further project funding as a result of their on-time delivery of the project. So again, we have team working. This person specifically worked in an interdisciplinary team, doing this actioned by team meetings from different locations, manage collaborators off-site, and the result that you were able to bring people together and deliver these good relationships. So once again, you still need to be able to break this down and put it together into a nice cohesive answer to someone. So here is like how a person has managed a complex project using the STAR method. So whilst completing my PhD, I was responsible for conducting research in modern history and delivering results to meet submissions, conference and publication deadlines. To achieve this, I created a project plan, plotted milestones, managed resources and personnel to progress. As a result, I was able to submit my PhD thesis within the timeframe and publish an impactful journal article. So you can see there the breakdown of STAR once again. So you have this situation, task, action, and results, but done in a nice, clear and concise manner that tells someone that you are both skilled and how you use that transferable skill, which might be able to help them in their industry. So really the take home for me, I want to leave with you, is that you as doctoral candidates are really more competitive than you think. I remember I always thought that I didn't have transferable skills, that all I was good at was looking down a microscope. But in reality, the skill set you and the soft skills and transferable competencies that you gain during your training can be used in a wide range of areas. But you do need to understand where those strengths and skills are. And it does take a while for you to take a step back and know what these are and how you use them. So for now, a good way to start is really start thinking about these STAR stories. You want to be practicing these and preparing these in case someone stops and asks you, tell me about a time that you did this, or tell me a time when you worked in a team. You'll be able to rattle off a quick story, which really shows to a person that you're an ideal candidate with strong skills and you are the best person for the position or the activity they want. So for me, that ends a little bit under time, but I thought I'd get us back to speed. Thank you for listening. But yeah, take home is that you are more competitive, you have the skills, but you need to make sure you're able to communicate them in an impactful way to show that you really are the most competitive applicant there. So for now, I will move on to Alexander, the Eurodoc General Board member, who will talk more about open science. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julian. Very interesting. I love this sentence that you are more competitive than you think. So it's a matter to self-analyze your skills and to take advantage of that. So great. Thank you. Alexander, sorry for taking your time.
It's okay. Can you hear me at the moment?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So, hello, everyone. My name is Alexander Beresko. I'm General Board Member of Eurodoc, and thanks for having me. Let me try to share my presentation screen. Can you hear? Can you see? Can you see this one?
1 second, Alexander. I think so, but we are waiting. Yes, it's okay.
Okay, perfect. So today we will be talking about open science in the context of early career researchers and different stages of research life cycle, as well as we will talk about COVID-related things, and I will present the Eurodoc Open Science Ambassadors Program, which might be interesting for some of you. Okay, so today open science is part of the vision of Europe. However, many people, especially early career researchers, still don't know what open science is exactly and how to practice it. European-funded Project Foster defines open science as a practice of science in such a way that others can collaborate and contribute. And that means that open science is not another science. Open science is just a new way, more open and more collaborative way to practice science. Okay. Why do we need open science? There are many reasons, but I think that the most important ones are open science supports validation and reproducibility of research, reduces cases of academic misconduct, and helps to maximize the impact of research and provides the foundations for others to build upon. So more collaborative and more open. There are 4 pillars of open science, and first of all, first pillar is data. Data-driven research is fast becoming the norm in all disciplines. To support validation of your findings and allow others to build upon your work, you first need to make sure that others can find your data. That is why giving unique identifiers such as DOIs and putting your data in a repository may be very helpful for others. Code. Of course, when sharing your software and code, be sure to make use of open source standards to support interoperability and their long-term viability. Of course, papers are in the core of research communication, and open access to publications is a key component of open science. Free and instant access to publications improves the speed of innovation and leads to better cooperation and progress in solving many big challenges such as COVID. And also reviews. The peer review process is evolving much, and by making the peer review process more transparent, researchers have better access to peer feedback and at an earlier stage in the life cycle, and consumers of research outputs can have greater confidence in their quality. So as you can see, the open science taxonomy is sure huge, and there are many different aspects of open science, but we can still select some main ones and implement them into our research daily. Open science can be practiced on different stages of research. So from conceptualization and data gathering to publication and review. And on different stages, we can use open science practices differently to achieve better transparency and impact. For instance, on the planning stage, when you are planning your research, it's great to share your ideas in a blog to get early feedback. Also, you can try to involve stakeholders such as industrial partners. And it's very good not to reinvent the bicycle. So it's good to check for existing data sets for reuse. For instance, here is the link to registry of research data repositories, where you can find many amazing data sets which you can use for your research. Okay. During the active stage of research, first of all, you can pre-register your ideas to avoid being scooped. So this means that if you don't want your ideas to be stolen, you can pre-register your study, and this gives you time-stamped evidence of your ideas. The Open Science framework, you can see the link here. They have a guide which offers great advice on pre-registering your project. Also, preprints are very popular at the moment. So what is a preprint? Preprint is a research paper which hasn't been peer reviewed. So publishing preprints allows you to share your research outputs in a rapid way, and this gives better visibility of your research and is very quick. We will return back to preprints when speaking about the COVID pandemic situation. And also, you can consider involving citizens through citizen science platforms such as Zooniverse. And this can be really helpful. This can dramatically increase the amount of data that you can realistically analyze in a short space of time, and meaningful public engagement is generally viewed very favorably by grant application reviewers. So if you have a big project which requires huge data processing by humans, you can consider using Zooniverse or other similar platforms. And of course, towards the end of your research, open access is key concept of open science. And if you publish openly, you increase your chances to be seen, to be cited, and to generally build your research visibility. So there is an open directory of open access journals, which is very a good source for a good place to find a journal that really suits you. And please don't forget to link your paper's code and data via assignment of DOIs and link to your ORCID. I hope everyone knows what is ORCID, and everyone has such a code. Maybe you have noticed I'm speaking of different research outputs at the moment, not only papers, because you can also cite code, you can also cite data, which brings opportunity to people who contribute different research outputs to be recognized and valued. Okay, and last but not least, you can also consider writing a lay summary, which means a short summary for non-professionals, but this can be researchers from other fields as well as journalists. And it's very valuable because if media people like your research, you can become a star very quickly. Okay. Yes. Practicing open science may sound like extra work, and it is really so, because you have to do your research and you have put additional efforts to apply additional efforts to make it open. But open science really brings many benefits to researchers, society, and general public. So practicing open science means that research outputs are accessible to all, not just stuck behind the paywalls, as it often happens today. This helps to ensure that all researchers have a level playing field, regardless of their location or economic situation. It means that the research process can be accelerated and new knowledge can be more quickly generated and built upon to help solve grand challenges. Society also is a beneficiary. Open science offers a better return of investment from research funded by public money and contributes to better economic growth, because society doesn't have to pay twice. They have already paid for research, and sometimes they need to pay twice to access the knowledge process. And also, open science is important for researchers, especially early career ones. For instance, making your research outputs findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable fair results will give you more visibility and benefits. By publishing your data and code as well as your articles, you are essentially tripling the number of citable outputs for every project you work on. Your research will be more visible and understandable to others, which can mean that you see your citation rate increase, which is important, as all of us know. Okay. Concerning the recent COVID situation, open science is recognized by many as a key thing to combat COVID. And for instance, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, it's a quotation, so they really think open science is crucial. They are also seconded by UNESCO and many other organizations. And now we can see a rise of many projects related to open science, which can really help us to combat this worldwide disaster. One of them, for instance, is a Warden project which aims to collect COVID-related data from all over the world in FAIR data format. Okay. So also, the COVID pandemic has led to the rise of preprints. We have already mentioned preprints today, but what is a preprint? Let me say it once again. It's an unpeer-reviewed paper, which can be published really quick and increases scientific communication speed dramatically. You can see that around 1/4, that's a picture from Nature actually, around 1/4 of the scientific articles that relate to COVID are preprints, yes? So, and many people think that the COVID situation and rapid publishing has changed the science communication landscape forever. So the COVID crisis has underlined just how fast and open science publishing can be when scientists want it that way. So, and now we can see many major initiatives aiming at providing new open access publishing platforms with ability to publish preprints all over Europe. Okay, but let me say that this situation also generates some challenges for researchers because if people need to learn, especially early career researchers, how to work with unpeer-reviewed knowledge. And this is a diagram from a recent preprint, Open Science Saves Lives, Lessons from the COVID Pandemic. And there is a very good analysis of this, and they state that it's important that preprints are still not used as a reliable source. So if you are citing a preprint, if you are using the data or ideas from a preprint, it's totally okay, but you have to understand that you have to maybe check it yourself. All right. So now I would like to move to the next part of my presentation, and I want to tell you about the Eurodoc Open Science Ambassadors Program, which might be interesting for many of you, and which is very effective at the moment, as you will be able to see. So, okay, when you hear the word ambassador, what are you thinking about? Maybe you're thinking about, I don't know, famous actors like George Clooney advertising some expensive Rolex watches. But my first association was something like medieval, like a medieval duke, which is like ambassador of one kingdom to other. This is a very amazing picture from by Hans Holbein the Younger from 16th century. But actually, the concept of ambassadors is very popular today, and there are already many open science or open access ambassadors network in different organizations. For instance, Center of Open Science, it's a United States-based organization, has their open science ambassadors globally. Max Planck Institute, they have PhD Net, which is open access ambassadors, yes? And of course, Plan S also has their ambassadors cohort, and one of the ambassadors is Eurodoc former President Gareth O'Neill. So, do we need another ambassadors cohort? And my opinion is yes. So, ambassadors are people who promote some idea and or some practices in their local environments, and there is such a nice diagram which is called the Diffusion of Innovations Curve by Everett Rogers. So if you are speaking about open science, maybe the relations is not that direct, but still, yes. So for every innovation, in order to become mainstream, it has to cross the so-called chasm, yes. So from being just a toy of early adopters and moving to mainstream. So I really think that open science at the moment needs many promotion in on international, national, and local level. And of course, Eurodoc Open Science ambassadors contribute to this. And I hope that our efforts will help open science to jump over this gap. So what is Eurodoc Open Science training? It's a course designed by Gareth O'Neill, Eurodoc former president, and Ivo Gregorov, a well-known open science practitioner and scholar. And its main aim is to train researchers in key practices of open science. We have webinars by amazing top-level experts in different aspects of open science, from just open science concept to open infrastructure, open clouds like EOSC, and so on. And also, we use the Foster training course in open science, and people who want to become an ambassadors, they have to pass the exam. So you don't need to be an Eurodoc administration member, but you have to pass the course and be able to pass the exam. Okay, so when the new cohort is ready, what are they doing actually? So first of all, let me remind you that Eurodoc is an international federation of 28 national organizations spread all over Europe. And we have ambassadors in 24 countries. So countries which have ambassadors are indicated in violet, in purple. So as you can see, our ambassadors network is really huge and is from Ireland to Azerbaijan, which gives you good international cooperation possibilities, and networking. So my vision of Open EURODOC Open Science Ambassadors is an international network of action, and it is really so. Doc Open Science Ambassadors communicate, they write blog posts, it's my photo, they present at different events all over Europe, which might not be the case now, but still, many events are moved online, and presenting there is also okay. And they are monitoring the open science landscape to be and to stay good experts in this field. Also, EURODOC is an expert partner in Open Research Europe project. It is a very ambitious project which aims to create a European open access publishing platform, inclusive for different types of research outputs such as code, data, and whatever else next year. And EURODOC conducted a European-wide survey on publishing in open science, and ambassadors took a very active role in this. Yeah. If you're interested in Open Research Europe project, you can visit this page by this QR code. Also, EURODOC Open Science Ambassadors contributed greatly to the awarded Erasmus Plus project, which is called Open Practices, Transparency and Integrity for Modern Academia, OPTIMA. And now ambassadors, EURODOC Open Science ambassadors from France, Ukraine, and Belgium will be working together on this project funded by European Union. So as I said, EURODOC Open Science ambassadors are really a network of action. And if you want not only to be a practitioner of open science, but also want to promote it and take part in very interesting things, you can join. Here is a link to our EURODOC Open Science Ambassadors page, so you can use this QR code or just visit this link and learn more about the core specialists, current ambassadors cohort, and our modules. So we aim at starting recruiting the new cohort of ambassadors shortly, but we still don't know the exact time. So if you are interested in joining our cohort, please go to this short Google form and add your contact details there. So once we know the details about the launch of new cohort, I will write you an email with all needed information. So hope that I managed to finish in time. All for listening. I hope that some of you will be interested in becoming EURODOC Open Science ambassadors, or just will be practicing science in a more open and transparent way. Thanks for your attention, and if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you very much, Alexander. I think that is you started your time a very relevant topic. I would like to remark these 4 pillars related to open science: data, code, papers, and reviews, because it's very important for any PhD candidate to take into account those concepts. And in particular, if I can add something, in the case of data and code, perhaps it's more focused in a specific group like engineers or perhaps informatic people. They are more related with that. I can say that open data and open code are absolutely well appreciated by the reviewers of any journal. It means that perhaps you have more opportunities to publish your contribution in a journal if you are able to provide data and code for the open community. And I think that this is very, very important, as well as a kind of self-recognition that your work can be useful for other people. And I think that this is another key point to remark from your presentation, that at least for me, when I did my PhD, one of the best things is when someone contacted me in order to reuse my contribution. So open science, or open data, code, papers, reviews is one way to share your contributions to the scientific community. So it's time for questions. I don't know from the audience if there are some comments and reaction about the two presentations from Julian and from Alexander. Two different topics, but both well connected with the PhD stage.
Please ask questions. Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Maybe everything is understandable, so it's perfect.
Maybe just both explain it very well, the concept, and there are no doubts, and everything is absolutely clear.
That's amazing.
Any question? Any doubt?
There's a question in the chat for Alexander.
Okay, let me just have a look. Where is the chat? I don't know. Okay, I will maybe.
I can read it.
Okay, please.
To what extent do you think the big companies or conventional companies are reluctant to open science? And how could this mindset be changed?
Thanks for this brilliant question. I mean, I think that open science is like something, okay, if we compare science to World Wide Web, so Web 2.0 with Facebook and whatever else is the same thing for web, that open science is for science, more open, more collaborative, more communicative. Maybe this undermines some already existing business schemes, but I think that open science is a really nice thing to practice and promote, and it really can bring our humanity at the whole can really benefit greatly from open science. So yes, if some business schemes have to be maybe corrected, let's say so be it. But yeah, I can imagine some companies, especially big publishers, can be against it.
In any case, I would like to add something. Any project funded by European Commission, when you sign the contract, the grant agreement, you have the responsibility that to share your contribution. Of course, some part of your contribution can be confidentially, because if, in particular, if it is a company, but all type of publications should be in an open science mode. So that's very important that the European Commission is pushing forward this type of sharing information among the people. More questions? I have one for Julian, if I may. Concerning transferable skills, I would like, from your own point of view, what are the most demanded transferable skills from non-academia sector? It means when you finish your PhD, I don't know if you have some type of a study about that. When you finish your PhD, what type of transferable skills, or what type of skills that your PhD can provide you are well appreciated and well demanded by companies or non-academia sector?
I think the ones that seem to pop up quite a lot when we interface with industry and external companies are things like communication, but not only external communication, but internal. Teamwork is a big one, not so much leadership, but teamwork is a big one that we hear a lot, primarily because you be wanting to be working collaboratively in order to tackle a problem or to create a new innovative idea. They don't particularly want someone who's going to come into a project and be more bullheaded and not be able to listen and communicate. And problem solving. A lot more of these things, soft skills that we tend to negate as being just ancillary things, are the things that pop up more. And it's just really communicating that you have done this on a daily basis really well and clearly, which seems to be like, it's something I personally struggle with all the time. And I had to use the STAR method to take a step back and be like, yeah, I actually have been in a situation that I've worked as a team to overcome an issue, and this is how I've done it. But yeah.
And do you think so from your answer that perhaps is most valorated from non-academia sector, these transversal skills than the specific skills that you acquire with your PhD?
I think definitely with industry, we're moving more away from this thought of hiring someone just because of their skill set, but more towards hiring someone and investing in someone that has these transferable skills, because then as a company or an industry, you can educate them in the technical, because you want someone who will be able to work in this environment and collaborate. But then you can, as a business or company or industry, invest in their technical skills and knowledge. It's much easier when you have a person with this great transferable skill set and soft skills to do that.
Okay. So we have one question from the chat box from Alexander. Is related. Can you see the question, Alexander? Is from Álvaro Alfayete. Journals like Nature or Science had all their articles not open access, and if you want to make them free access, you have to pay. All of us want to publish in all those high impact journals. How could it be changed so our work can be open?
That's also a very nice question. Thanks for this. But I think that at the moment, and it's an unfortunate situation, but one sometimes has to change to choose if to publish in a high impact journal or to publish in open access journal. Hope the situation will change, but actually, is it fair that research is judged on not on the content itself, but on the venue where the research is published? So let's think about it. If research is brilliant, if it's good, does it really matter in which journal or whatever other venue it is published? I mean that, for instance, if we are speaking about the ORA project, which I mentioned today, Open Access Europe, it's a new open access publishing platform for Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe beneficiaries. So they will have opportunity to publish there for free, and it will be open like immediately, rapid publication, immediate open access, whatever else. European Commission pays for this. It's amazing venue, which is very good, and but I don't think it will be a very impact factor from the very beginning. Yes, it's still. We have recently conducted a European-wide survey, and according to the survey, people in some areas of Europe think that impact factor is extremely important, but in others, it's they don't think so to this extent. So I hope the situation changes, and I really like amazing journals like Nature and other high-impact journals because it's a hard-earned reputation, but it doesn't mean that other publishing venues are dramatically worse than they. So.
Okay, thank you for the answer. So we have just 1 minute for one extra question. In the chat box, raise the hand icon, open to the people. No? Well, thank you again, Alexander and Julian, for your nice presentation. I think that both topics are absolutely necessary to take into consideration when you are doing your PhD from two different perspectives. It's important to remark that at that point. One is more in the part of contributions, and the other is in the part of your self-construction of your future as a worker in a company, in a business organization, and so on. Thanks again. And now we are going to start the next presentation in this same channel, in this same session, with Matthias and Eva. Matthias, are you here? Hi, yes, Matthias. Welcome. Thank you very much for your time and your participation in this session. And I think that Eva will, with you, will be with you. Eva?
Yes, hi, I'm here.
Hi. Eva, good morning. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the idea is the rule for this session is very similar to the previous one. Just Matthias and Eva will take the control of the session. They will share their presentations. We will try to do some pooling, some questions to the audience, if you don't mind, in order to catch to attract the attention, to pay the attention of the people. And when you finish your presentation, both presentations, we will open the time for questions from the audience. So the floor is yours, Matthias and Eva.
Thanks a lot. That sounds great. First of all, thanks a lot also for the invitation, and congratulations to the colleagues of eurodoc of the previous slot. I will start with sharing some slides. Just give me 1 second. Voila. Can you confirm whether you see a slide?
Yes, we can see your person. Now 1 second.
Perfect.
Because it's uploading, I think so. Now it's right.
Now it's right. Okay, thanks a lot. So today we'll be talking about healthy and supportive environments for PhD candidates, and we would like to pave the way for good practices, telling a bit what we can do. A brief introduction of myself. I'm still an early career researcher in health psychology. I'm also involved in representation organizations of young researchers in this eurodoc, where I'm coordinating the working group on mental health. And professionally, I'm also responsible for the development of training programs and career development programs at the Free University of Brussels, the ULB. But for today, what I had in mind for you is first to have a few words on eurodoc, but I guess my colleagues already did that in the beginning, so that can go fast. Then to think about why we actually embark on a career in academia. Also, what are the main concerns of early career researchers at this moment? Why should we be talking about mental health issues in general? And what are the causal factors of that? And then how can we tackle these problems? This will be my contribution. And then Eva, she will continue with much more of the practical advices. What can you do on a daily basis? So the quick introduction on eurodoc, it's an association for early career researchers. It exists since 2002, based in Brussels, and contains 28 national associations, completely run by volunteers. And in total, it has the potential to represent around 1 million early career researchers. We have several topics on which we focus, and one of those topics is, of course, mental health. We work very closely together with other organizations. These can be associations of universities. Think about the EUA or LERU. This can also be associations of funders. Think about Science Europe, or associations of other young academics. Think about the Marie Curie or the Young Academics of Europe. This is the first question I also would like to ask to you. Actually, we wanted to make it interactive today. So the first question that I would like to ask you is, a career in academia, why? Why did you embark in an academic career? You can go to menti.com. You can enter the code there. I will shift now from screens. And what I ask there is to give 3 keywords, 3 words that summarize why you embarked on an academic career. So I'll quickly shift screens. Boom. So here I should normally see responses appearing. So connect to the website menti.com. Use the code 9079049. And then normally we should see responses appearing. Can you confirm whether you were able to connect to the website? Okay, I see the first ones. I've noticed that we have around 90 participants. So I would say, let's get responses of at least 50 people in. And then we can continue. So you can do this with your cell phone, with your computer, with any device normally. So 3 short keywords. And I'm already very happy to read that many of us are in because it's exciting. We are in there to do critical thinking for the research. Some of us also would like to have an effect on society. This is something to really keep in mind. The colleagues already mentioned transferable skills. These are the skills that can help you actually to get your research to society, to have an impact. Some of us also are in there for teaching. This is good. At the moment, we have research and teaching in the center. These are indeed the cornerstones of academia, let's say. Shaping thoughts, again, contributing to society, having an impact. Critical thinking, passion. Someone mentions that it's a passion. It's also a very nice one. We have 10 people so far. It can be challenging at times. We are in there because it's an autonomous profession to do. We're in there because it's interesting to do. Loving science, high quality. Reforming. At times hard, loving science. We want to innovate. This is in line with indeed what Europe also expects of us. Many more PhDs are granted now when you compare to 20 years ago. And the idea is that indeed all these researchers will become leaders in tomorrow's society and will lead to innovation. I would invite you to keep on adding to this open question if you want. We will slowly continue. And I remember that we are mainly into this profession because we are highly motivated and interested in research. We like to transfer knowledge and we like to have an impact on the society. Keep this in mind. Perhaps at the end of the presentation, I'll go back to this slide. I'll shift now back to the presentation itself. The reason why I shift a bit is also to focus on your specific questions later on. So I have sufficient time for that. Now, we all embarked on a career in academia, but sometimes it goes a bit different than we expected. So now we focus on what the main concerns actually are of early career researchers. The first question is, are we actually prepared for a non-academic career? And here in a survey that Eurodoc performed in 2017, we actually noticed that majority of the early career researchers nowadays would like to continue to work in academia. So the majority would like to stay. Second question is then, do they feel well prepared for a non-academic career? And what you see there is in the first top left graph are numbers that, yes, roughly 30% say that they received enough training to be prepared. However, when you ask them, did you have enough contact with future employers, the numbers dropped already to a minority. And whether they received enough career counseling, there again, a minority says, okay, we agree. So we can conclude here, based on these numbers, that the majority of young researchers would like to stay, and only a minority actually says that they feel well prepared to make a transition to a non-academic career path. The second concern that comes up, look at the left figure. At the top there, we see two main concerns, the work-life balance and the career path, uncertainty about the career. On the right-hand side, we also see some testimonies. Sometimes people say, well, there was nothing harder than doing the PhD. It was a very dark period. So for some, at times, it is an unpleasant experience. This is perhaps because we're in there because of our passion, our motivation. We say yes to all the challenges that come. And at times we may be overwhelmed, but there may be other characteristics that play as well. The third concern is what brings us here together today. It's the need to address mental health issues. On the left, a figure from the Woolston paper in Nature, where you see that roughly 28% of the people who filled out the survey did struggle with anxiety and depression complaints. And of those 28%, 45% actually did see for help. On the right graph, there you see again a prevalence of around 40% for both anxiety and depression. So roughly 40% of the people, of the young researchers who filled this out, reported to have clinical anxiety and depression. If you look at the C graph, interesting there is that when you look at the people who experience anxiety and depression, many of them will report an unhealthy work-life balance. If you go to the D figure, there the question was whether they felt supported by their supervisor. And you see, both for anxiety and depression, that when you ask about the role of the supervisor, early career researchers did not agree that they had enough mentorship, that they did not receive enough support, that they did not receive enough emotional impact, that the supervisor was not an asset to their career, and that they did not feel valued. I show you this graph because we can also ask ourselves the question, are these tasks that should be performed by a supervisor, yes or no? A supervisor is an excellent scientific guide, but perhaps not the best career mentor. If you look at some numbers from Belgium, that's my home country, there we see again, 41% reports to be under constant strain, 30% of the early career researchers is unhappy, and depressed. Some numbers of the Netherlands, again, 47% under constant strain, 33% unhappy and depressed. Some numbers from Switzerland, a different question here, but what we see here is that 16% of the early career researchers says not to be satisfied at all, which actually means that majority of them is satisfied with their PhD overall. This is a very interesting, seemingly contradiction at first sight. People report to be very anxious, to be very unhappy, to feel issues, and at the same time they are very satisfied. I'll come back to this later on. One of the questions that I would like to ask out loud is whether there may be an issue of expectations. What do we expect of the academic career? What do we expect of our supervisors? What do we expect of our own personal career development? It may be crucial to set the expectations right, to be clear on what can be expected. What causes these mental health issues? Here again, I turn to you. I will first have to change to the different slide, but the principle remains the same. So we have a new slide up. You're still connected with the code. And now my question is, what causes mental health issues according to you? Same principle, I ask 3 keywords. Let's try to get the same number as we did for the first slide. So around 19 people who find their way. What could be the cause? Stress. What other can cause mental health? Pressure. Pressure to publish, I assume. Pressure to finish also a lot of projects. Pressure perhaps to also get the right grants to be able to continue. Loneliness. I'm happy that someone mentions this because this is a key one. Work overload, judging environment, the work-life balance, the lack of personal time, not feeling good, a stress that actually stays. Now I need some time to catch up. It's good. Papers, isolation once more, lack of clarity, that is linked to the expectations. Temporal contracts, job insecurity. All of these points are indeed relevant. And someone mentioned also mobility. There's a very high demand on young researchers to be extremely mobile, whereas indeed the supportive structures are not all the time in place in terms of building up social security rights, pension, etc. So there's a lot of stress. The environment is not very supportive and there's a lot of pressure. I'll change back to our presentation. Please continue to feed the word cloud if you like. So now I will come back to the causes I had in mind. As I mentioned earlier, the interesting paradox in a way is top of the concern is work-life balance and career path. On the right-hand side, we see the satisfaction. Not a surprise. Early career researchers are least satisfied with the career guidance and things related to publications, funding, vacation time. But look again on the upper side. Overall, they are very satisfied with their PhD. Roughly 80%, not in this figure, but in general, roughly 80% of early career researchers, especially when finishing, says, I was quite satisfied with how it went. It went well. So this is again that interesting paradox. There is, like you also pointed out, a wide range of potential stressing factors. The career remains a bit unclear. Sometimes we don't feel good. Sometimes we feel like imposters in the environment. Sometimes we lack institutional support. There is the publication pressure. There's a supervision that perhaps is absent. There are the working conditions that put a lot of strain. There's funding uncertainty. There's also the request of early career researchers to handle very independently and to be very mobile. There's sometimes also the lack of social support. Early career researchers report to feel isolated. There's a teaching load, and there's that work-life balance that is under pressure. What are the current challenges? I think with regard to this issue, the problem is that we have identified that there is, of course, an issue, but we don't really understand the problem yet. We didn't define what mental health exactly is, what an academic career exactly could be. We notice that early career researchers are primarily trained for an academic career and that they wish to stay in that typical academic career. Sometimes there's even a taboo surrounding stress and health concerns. And sometimes there's a lack of supportive services for those that admit that they have difficulties. So what we need to do is we need to open this debate and make sure that people can address mental health related issues that they experience. How to tackle these issues? And this is my last question for you. I'll shift again to that slide. What do you think we can do to tackle these issues? Voilà, the slide is open. Now you have an open-ended way of answering. So what can we do? What would you suggest to improve the mental health and the well-being of early career researchers? Social support. That's a crucial one. Battling the isolation. Talking about emotions, being honest and open with each other, sharing thoughts. Sharing issues. Planning shouldn't be like a highway with no exit. That's also a very nice one. Flexibility is quite important there. Connecting young researchers with each other. I'll wait again till we have around 15 persons who responded. What could you do at your local level also? What could you do yourself? Yes, getting realistic info before starting a PhD. Getting perhaps also realistic info about what you can do afterwards with that PhD. Getting realistic info about what an academic career is nowadays, because the role of universities has changed. And all those PhD candidates that do not find a job in academia, they will go to the other to the wider society, and they will have very interesting roles there. But it should be clear to have a nice support from family and friends, getting the free time, be able to do free time activities out of the laboratory. That's also an important one. Good. Again, I invite you to continue feeding in, ensure good communication, make funding easier, creating more perspective, actually, I would summarize. So please feed in into the question. I'll conclude our presentation, because of course from our side we also try to answer this question. From eurodoc's perspective, most important is still to raise awareness of the prevalence. A lot of the work has been done, but in some countries and some universities it remains still important to tell people about this issue. Encourage wider and systematic data collection. We need to understand this problem. I quoted one of our great examples there. If you have an hour to solve a problem, spend enough time thinking about it instead of jumping into solutions. So we really need to understand what the problem is in our culture. What is the problem in academia? We need to identify these stressors. We need to identify the risk factors. And we need to suggest good practices and strategies to overcome these issues. With our working group on mental health, we first of all want to discuss and relate the observations that we have at the level of the early career researchers with the literature. We conduct surveys and we try to understand these underlying causal factors. Based on this information, we then propose policy recommendations for higher education. For Eurodoc, it's top priority, and we can act at different levels. At the policy-making level, again, we continue to raise awareness, and we push for funding for this mental health research to better understand the problem. At an institutional level, we advise that there is enough support for early career researchers, that proactive policies are put in place. It's better to prevent than to cure, and that they push for more positions of PhD counselors, people who are trained to actively help the early career researcher profiles. Also at the level of the research group, you can do things. What you need there is inspirational leaders and guides. You need to have resources and time to develop yourself. You need to have constructive work relations that you feel satisfied with. And you need to have a supportive network of people that can act as mentors, that can act as sources of inspiration that give you that perspective. At the institutional level, many things have already been started. We see that many universities do hire confidential counselors, PhD psychologists, that they raise awareness on the future career perspectives, that they clearly tell, because in many countries, around 80% of the young academics, they have to leave academia. So from day one, they are prepared also for this exit. There's not one single career path. There are many opportunities for researchers nowadays. To focus on stress and well-being, and to install a supervisor training and monitoring so that we can also help supervisors in deciding what they can guide their PhD candidates with and where they may need other advisors to come in. Makes it also easier for them. For young researchers, we advise to use the services when they are there, to talk with friends and colleagues, to engage in peer-to-peer actions and mentoring programs. Seniors can help young academics that just arrive. Follow the courses that are offered to you. Take part in social activities. Train your transferable skills and proactively develop your career. If you have perspective, if you're not isolated and not lonely, then you will have a much better PhD experience. Here, just an example, but I assume that my colleagues already focused on the transferable skills. Make sure you train yourself, you develop yourself in a wider way than only the research. So to conclude, I would say instead of seeing mental health as a problem, I think there's a huge opportunity ahead of us. And this is the opportunity to also change the culture in which we work. And there we need to take into our mind, or to keep in our mind, the very first question that you answered. What brought us into academia, and how can we keep that feeling alive, that intrinsic motivation? So we encourage the academic culture to become more open and supportive, to become a source of inspiration. And I forgot my last one there. Sorry, my slides are moving. And the importance of networking and preparing yourself for your future career, I would say. Based on that, I would like to conclude and thank you for your attention. And then I give the floor now to Eva. Eva, I'll put your slides up if that's okay.
All right. Yes, please do. Okay.
Voilà, here you go.
Okay. All right. How can I take a control over it?
That's a very good question. Do you have an option to take control over my screen? If not, you just tell me when I need to click.
Okay. All right. Well, no, this is another conversation. All right. So I don't have a possibility to
just give me a cue.
Give you a cue. All right. All right. So maybe I will just show up my face first. Does the camera work? Yes. So hello, everyone. It's a really great pleasure to be here. I see that we have 91 participants, well, 92. So this is really, really amazing. My name is Ewa Płóciennicka. I am a doctor of cognitive psychology and a founder of PhD Success, which is online support platform. And I am really honored to be in this session and talk about mental health and the ways to improve well-being. So I really want to thank the organizers of this event, on the Innovation First, for inviting me, having me on the platform, and especially thank you for Matthias for inviting me to this session. This is really something that is very important for me to promote mental health. And yes, let's get to it. So I would like to start. We can go to the next slide. I would like to start just with a quotation. Can you move on the slide? Okay, it goes this way. All right. So thank you. And this is a quotation from Twitter that I really liked. It's not mine. It says, "A PhD is a journey. No one goes through it and remains the same. Use it as a stepping stone to a better you." And I think that this is really very, very right. We have spoken earlier today about the transferable skills that we are developing during our PhD. And I think that there are, besides the obvious skills, we are also developing some sort of psychological awareness of our own capacities. For example, we learn to know how we handle stress, how we can work under pressure. Are we able to work under pressure? Are we able to communicate in the difficult situations? So I think that really a PhD is a process of learning, but it's not only about learning intellectual or hard skills, but it's also learning about yourself. And this is something that can be very hard sometimes. And I have gone through PhD myself and through 2 postdocs, so I really understand this reality. So now we can go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Is there a way that I can actually, because I think it will be a little bit bothering if I need to, can I maybe just, okay, so.
You can, sorry, Eva, you can actually open the sites on your own screen and then simply share your screen. That's the best way, I think.
Okay, yes, so excuse me for this break. So if I do this, partage d'écran, okay?
Exactly.
Okay, and can I, okay, so now I see myself, which was not the
No, you see normally your desktop. So if you move, if you open up your presentation, normally it should automatically show itself.
Okay, okay. So I'm opening it right now. I see you now. Okay, this is my presentation.
We don't see it yet.
Yeah, can I? Okay, well, okay, now, tack.
Now something is changing, and that's someone else is saying something. Perhaps try again. When you click on the sharing screen, you have a few options that you can select. Perhaps so either it's the desktop, and then whatever you show on the desktop, whatever is active. So perhaps you need to minimize the screen in which you are, and then show what is.
Okay, I think you have it over there, right? Now it shows, it appears, share. Not this one. Okay,
I don't see it yet.
I see. I think, okay, do you see a mess on my screen? Yes, now you see it. Okay, I push it like this. Okay. What about now?
Yes.
Yes, all right,
yes,
perfect. Okay, sorry for that. So I will just start from here. So yes, I briefly introduced myself already, but as I was saying, so PhD is really a journey, and you should think of it as a way also of personal development. And so my journey was not always easy, but that's why I would define myself as a psychologist passionate about science. So just quickly to give you my story and my background is that I'm native Polish, and I came to France for my studies of psychology. And when I finished my studies, I actually worked for 2 years as a psychologist. And only then I realized that I actually like science and I like knowledge. And then I integrated the PhD program. And so the PhD program, well, as you know, it was very different from what I expected. And there were a lot of ups and downs and a lot of difficulties. And then this was a point where I actually realized that there are things that really matter for me. And one of them is working with people, whereas my PhD was usually was much more dealing with data. It was a fundamental research. So knowing that actually being with people and helping people was kind of filling my batteries, this is where I tried to put my energy to keep the balance. So I got very involved in the PhD students associations, and I really saw it was by that time a little bit of a taboo talking about mental health and talking about problems that we have. But still, we did some masterminds and we did some meetings to talk about our difficulties, how we can help each other. And I started more and more progressively to advocate about mental health and the importance of addressing those issues. So I was actually very, very happy also with the questions that you asked, Matthias, and with all your answers saying, okay, what are your difficulties, but also what you can do about it. And I'm very, very happy to notice that actually you have a lot of ideas what you can do yourself to make your journey more joyful, less stressful, and so on. And so my activities, actually my, let's say, social psychological activities, while they developed progressively, and I started helping my friends, listening, counseling PhD students, to the point that when I was a postdoc, I actually realized that many PhD students, and they were not only from psychology, but also from neuroscience, from engineering, from completely different fields, that they have a very similar struggles. And that actually one of my skills was listening, was also understanding, and also having the idea how I can help them. So this is how my project started. So in parallel to my research first, now it became a full-time project, which is called PhD Success. So PhD Success is an online platform dedicated to promoting mental health and well-being in academia. And so what we are doing, so it's me, I work with collaborators, and we work, it is to promote mental health and well-being on a different levels. So on the institutional level, we are completely independent from the institutions. However, we do collaborate with PhD students associations, with the Collège Doctoral in France, and with the universities, but also by organizing workshops, online workshops, and events that raise awareness about mental health. The other thing is also individual support. So I'm offering one-on-one consulting for PhD students, all that dedicated to issues, like you said, dealing with stress, working under pressure, being productive, dealing with self-esteem. I really like all the words that you said. And of course, probably the most important is the community. So this is the peer-to-peer support. And today I would actually like to speak about the community, about the peer-to-peer support, because this is something that you can do yourself. And this is the way you can take care of your mental health and on your well-being. So everything I will be saying today, I really meant to do it very practical. And of course, this is based on my experience as a psychologist, but also on my experience in academia. So first, Matthias presented like the negative effects of lack of well-being. Well, I will go the other way around and first present you I will present you the other side of the coin and first highlight the importance of well-being. Then I will present you 3 secrets how to take care of your mental health. And I really call it secrets because it's actually very practical steps to take care about your mental health, but actually no one really tells you how to do it. And then we will end up on presenting you really the benefits of peer-to-peer support. So as you said in your words, about networking, connecting with other researchers. So first question is, what is well-being? So Oxford Dictionary defines this as the state of feeling healthy and happy. The other definition, a little bit more precise, but still very vague, is well-being is the experience of health, happiness, and prosperity. It includes having good mental health, high life satisfaction, and a sense of meaning or purpose in life. So the notion of well-being is still not really clearly defined. However, researchers in general agree that there are different layers that contribute to mental health, to well-being. So emotional, so being assured, feeling well, being loved; social, having friends, being surrounded; physical, being well in your body; professional, so this is really the PhD for us; and then societal, and that could also be one of the examples that you quoted. So making an impact, having a purpose in life. So with your research, you want to have impact, you want to contribute to general knowledge, for example, or with your. So you see that, so the effects of well-being have been studied in children, in undergraduate, but also lately in the postgraduate students. And the methods are different, and like we could discuss the definition. However, they all clearly show that well-being, so being well in general, okay, having this inner balance, that gives you more confidence. And when you're more confident, well, you're better in taking decisions. You're also more positive, and that means that you will have more positive approach to challenging situations. it also means that you're more motivated and you're more resistant to stress. You know how to handle it better. And overall, if you're confident with your work, if you're motivated and you're positive about yourself and you see the bigger goal about it, you're also more efficient at work. So we have even an expression saying you need to be well to work well. So my question would be how to achieve well-being. And that was really the question that I asked myself so many times during my PhD and at some moments of my postdoc as well. And that was really the question that triggered me. And so one of the main ideas is to present a well-being as balloons, as a different spheres of your life that we're supposed to nourish, that we are supposed to feed, and they will all lift you up. So you should have, of course, your PhD, which is the professional one, but also you should have your activities, friends, connections, family, emotions. And so the idea is to keep those balloons at the same level. So it doesn't have to be absolute the same level, but to feed them progressively. Unfortunately, what is happening is that the PhD is really growing. The PhD becomes actually the purpose of our life. It becomes also our profession, and actually it turns into a lifestyle. So we have less friends for our family, we have less friends for our friends, for our hobbies, and so on. So it becomes a very fragile structure, because if something goes wrong in our PhD, if we're struggling, there is really a bigger risk of developing mental distress. So this is actually the data that Matthias showed. So what would be the ways to balance them, to achieve your well-being? Well, the information I was getting all the time would be, well, keep balance, do sport, eat healthy, get a good amount of sleep, take breaks, take holidays. Well, I don't know about you, but I can tell you from my experience, I really loved dancing in the past. And I was passionate about Latin dances. And I managed to do it when I was studying, when I was working. But I stopped while I was doing my PhD because I felt guilty of going to dance, whereas I had so much work waiting for me. So how can you really do it? And so here comes the first secret, which is so-called J-Joe fallacy, which actually, so we say knowing is half the battle. But in reality, merely knowing something is actually not enough to change your behavior. So if you know that you need to do sport, but you have thousands of things waiting for you and deadlines and so on, I don't know if you can really do it or for how long you can do it. So the second secret is that you actually need to learn to take care of yourself. And as you're learning different skills in your PhD, you also need to learn to take care of yourself. And you probably all heard about classical conditioning, or probably more about Pavlov's dog. So Pavlov basically associated the light with the meat, and then when the dog saw the light, he was salivating. So that was the first experience that actually we can change behaviors. But even more interesting than that is more or less at the same time, there was Skinner, American researcher, working on the operant conditioning, which is now a base of learning. And his experiment was very, very simple. So he was working on pigeons, and pigeon had to push on a button, and then he was getting either a positive, he was getting crops, basically. He was getting grains. So that we call positive reinforcement, positive feedback, if you prefer, or he was pressing on a button and then the horrible, horrible noise was turning on. Well, the result of it no matter if it was positive or negative, the pigeon kept pressing, okay? Because he was getting a feedback. So either it was pressing to get a positive feedback or pressing to stop something negative happening. And this is also pretty much what is happening when we are doing our PhD. So let's take an example of a script. And okay, we wrote our first manuscript, a first draft of an article. We are submitting it to our supervisor. And he would say, wow, great job. I really like it. There might be some little improvements, but overall, it's good. So we keep working on it and being encouraged. On the other side, we might also get a negative feedback. And this is unfortunately what is happening most of the times. And then, so, okay, our supervisor will say, well, this is actually not so good. You should really work on it more. I don't understand why you did this or that. Okay, so we are getting the feedback. And as we are getting the feedback, positive or negative, we will keep working on our PhD. Now, taking the example of my dance, but it can be any other hobby. Okay, when I was taking lessons of dance, then naturally I will go to the parties and dance. So if there would be more dancers willing to dance with me or making me compliments about my dances, that would be a positive feedback for me. But also it could happen the other way around, that people would correct me while dancing or saying that I should improve something. That would be a negative feedback, but I would be still getting the feedback. Unfortunately, what is happening in our PhD and what happened to me is that actually I stopped going to parties. I kept going to the lessons, but not to the parties because I didn't have time anymore, because I was not giving it enough priority, which actually means that without a feedback, at some point, it was just pointless for me to go to those dances because I could not see the purpose. So this is actually how our good habits or our different habits are disappearing and how PhD becomes such a priority in our life. So you see, just for comparison, and sometimes we can be in our PhD, no matter what, we will keep working because there is also a bigger purpose behind it. And we might feel negative effects like lack of motivation, like low self-esteem if we are getting too much of a feedback, but still we do work because this is our job. Whereas we will stop the good habits, well, other habits, because there is no obligation, and very often because we stop doing nice things, we are not getting this feedback. So this is actually where this balloon idea comes, that, well, we need to take care of ourselves, but we are actually not encouraged by the external factors to do it. So here comes the third secret, and this is actually the key point of my presentation, is to get peer-to-peer support. So what does it mean peer-to-peer support? Well, basically it is an idea of having peers, of having friends, of having colleagues who share the same challenges, who share the same passions, and that you can mutually nourish yourself. So for example, in my case, I didn't meet a group when I moved to study for my PhD. I didn't meet a group of people who were salsa dancers and who could encourage me to go out more often. Okay, so that could possibly become a positive feedback, but it didn't for me. But actually what happened for me, and I was very lucky, during my PhD, I was also not sure about my professional career, so I attended many different events. And this way, I've met PhD students from different fields, and we just started to hang out together as friends. And actually, that was fantastic because it really allowed me to share my problems and feel like safe to share it even outside of my close colleagues from the laboratory. And that has actually had a great impact on me and really helped me, like boost me to be more motivated. And I also learned a lot how it is to finish the PhD and so on. So it gives you really the feeling that you're not alone, and it also breaks the isolation, okay? And so I could speak more and more about the benefits of it and so on. So there is more and more research about peer-to-peer support in academia. It is a method that is commonly used in psychology, in other groups for patients, but also for individuals, for mothers, lonely mothers, and so on. And so what the peer-to-peer support offers you, well, first of all, it is a feedback. It is a reinforcement. Okay, so you will see the effects of your behavior. It has also the motivating effect because you know that you're not alone. You can ask for advice, and it also enhances your productivity because sometimes you don't spend so much time looking for the information yourself. Someone can actually give you a tip, can give you an advice. Also, the research shown that actually just seeing or knowing that people are working at the same time that you is actually motivating and raise your productivity. Then once again, one of the things that you have cited of the problems of PhD students was that you feel lonely. And I also felt lonely sometimes with my challenges. And so the peer-to-peer support, which is particularly important in academia, really gives this feeling of belonging. Besides that, there is also one of the problems of PhD students is really having a low self-esteem, whereas they are great. They are really doing great, challenging, very challenging things. But we are so used to getting this negative feedback and constantly had to improve ourselves that also community gives you confidence, because if you know that, okay, you got a very negative, your manuscript got rejected, let's say, but you know that it happens anyway 80 times, that it is rejected the first time you submit it, and so on, this actually doesn't make you feel so bad anymore. And of course, it helps you to keep balance, not only in academia, but also outside of academia. So my advice here, and I think that you actually quoted it, but I really, really want you to know that this is very important, and this is really proven by science, by psychology, is really to get peer-to-peer support and to be open about your challenges, to speak about them, to find people who you trust to communicate about your challenges, and to be really solution-oriented, to be proactive in taking care of your mental health, and participate in the events for the PhD students, because this is where you can make great connections, but also extend your network and so on. So it's not only about mental health, but it's also about your work. I would really advise you to join local PhD associations and to get involved with them. And believe me, this is absolutely not a waste of time. What I have done 5 years ago, it still pays now. And of course, join online PhD communities, as we are now in this more online era due to the situation. And so naturally, I would like to invite you to PhD Success Community. So this is a community that is a closed community. It's a membership. And the aim is really to offer a safe space to share your struggles, to get advice, and meet like-minded PhD students from all over Europe, but actually not only Europe. This is not limited. So how it works is that everything is happening online. We're connecting through Zoom. We are organizing sessions where we are working together. So usually we are using productivity technique, but there are also some other activities. For example, we would meet for tea, or we will do a mixer party where we are just talking about our PhD challenges or challenges related to starting writing your PhD. Also, for example, month of April was a month dedicated to stress. I am also recording some videos there, and we have also sessions that are dedicated to one particular mental struggle, like dealing with stress and using it as a positive power. So this is the link to the community. I will just I will drop it in a second in the chat box. So it's as simple as that, phdsuccess.eu. So please join, feel welcome. Also, if you need some personal advice, phdsuccess.eu is there, and I will be happy to answer all your questions. And of course, I want to finish with a take-home message. So your well-being is important, that it's an integral part of your PhD success. And I would go even further by saying that it is actually taking care of your mental health is actually a skill that you develop during your PhD, and that will serve you throughout all your life in different areas, not only professional one. And then 3 secrets, a reminder, knowing doesn't mean applying. So you really need to learn how to take care of yourself. And also a peer-to-peer support can be really crucial in that. So thank you very much for your attention. And I give a voice to Matthias. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Eva, for your contribution.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you, Matthias. So 2 impressive presentations. The first one from Matthias, talking about the problematic issues around mental health. I think that you support your presentation with very impressive figures, because sometimes is necessary to support your feeling or your thoughts with realistic figures. So that's great. And thank you, Eva, for this amount of tips for trying to address the mental issues or the well-being things around when you are doing the PhD. So we have time for a couple of minutes for questions from the audience. Please, any question from to our guest speakers? Please raise your hand. Or open your microphone.
Yes, indeed.
Don't be shy. Oh, no questions.
Ale, the key message was to connect and open, and so yeah, feel free.
We like questions, actually. This is
so.
Yeah, well, actually, I have a question.
Yeah, please, Alessandra.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank you all, because I think that it was a very important topic and something that isn't very talked that much about. And I feel that even if we struggle with it, we are not really that open to actually voice it. So I think that's important to talk about. And I would like to ask if it's possible to share some of the publications about the mental health that was shown in, I think, Mr. Matthias' presentation, just like the titles or something like that, because...
For sure. Actually, I would like to share the entire presentation, and then you will have links that lead you to...
Okay.
I will check. If that works, that's fine. Otherwise, I'll send you the links to the exact...
Okay, thank you.
And it's a question for the organizers. Are presentations shared by default?
Yeah. So we will request you by email the presentations, and the idea is to share if you don't have any objection with the audience. Yes. So I think that if we are talking about open science and open data,
absolutely,
we need to distribute the documentation.
Absolutely.
So Matthias, Eva, we have one question from Anne Bege or Bewe. What in the chat box? Sorry. What would be your inputs on how to put in practice a mentorship program from scratch in a university? I don't know who will be the right person to address this question.
Well, perhaps I can start, and Eva, you can add. First advice I would give is reach out, as Eva already mentioned, reach out to your peers. Make sure you discuss things with each other, and lead by example. Among yourselves, set up perhaps a first model of a mentoring type of program. Get some other colleagues and researchers involved, and show the university that it works and that it helps you. So let it grow as a grassroots initiative. And then once you see that it's helping people, you can suggest it to the university to embed it in an institutional way. So this can be either in doctoral schools or career centers, whatever. But I think the best approach here is indeed to do it as a bottom-up initiative, to do it as an exercise for yourself, and to help your peers. Usually this example is very well accepted and easy to get then institutionalized in universities. Eva?
Yeah, so not much to add. I completely agree with you. And I think this is really a very good way of doing it. Another way that I have also seen here in Strasbourg is that there are PhD students associations that exist already, but still, like some of the people, at least in those associations, they really give importance to the mental health. So they are organizing events between themselves or in collaboration with the specialist dedicated to that. And actually this initiative here, so it started small, the same, but it actually grew. Now there are 3 associations and they meet all together to speak about mental health issues. And the university actually noticed that, and thus, I mean, there are more possibilities now for founding or for getting places to meet and so on. So this is also a grassrooted initiative, but it actually grew within one association and then it extended.
I would like to add something from the academic perspective. I think that this type of initiatives from this PhD collective are always welcomed by the university government, because yes, they realize it about the relevance of PhD studies. That's one key point. And the other point, of course, is that PhD candidates are students. So well-being for any type of students in the university is always, or should be always, a priority by the government of the university. So I think that it's a matter, as Matthias and Eva said, of some previous organization to collect and to information and to collect students or candidates with similar initiative and push forward with the right representative of the university to promote this type of initiative.
Absolutely, and perhaps to add one last thing is that, of course, associations like Eurodoc at the European level, but also more local associations, are more than willing to help and support you in setting up such initiatives. In addition, taking ownership of organizing such activities is also an important component of your own professional development, because this is where you put your transferable skills into practice. Mm-hmm. So also that is a real career boost, to say so.
And if I may add something, it also, if we're speaking about transferable skills, that also allows you, like this peer-to-peer support, to know in what you are actually good. Are you good in listening? Are you good in giving advice? Can you give feedback? Can you help someone with coding? So it's actually beneficial both ways, for the one that you're helping, for the mentoree, but also for you, because it actually helps you to realize the skills and the knowledge that you have. And at the end, it also makes you feel better.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. We have time for one more question. Lorena Peñacova said, very nice presentation. You have talked about the PhD, but what happened after? How to deal with the uncertainty?
Sorry, could you repeat the last part of the question?
What happens after? With the uncertainty.
How to deal with uncertainty? Well, that's a very good question. My advice there would be to really get to know your inner compass, and that starts at day one of the PhD. You reflect, why do I start this PhD? What do I want to achieve with it actually? What is driving me? And think about different career paths that lay ahead of you, in which you can realize these same things. I'll give one example. If you ask young academics, they will tell you, I want to become a professor. But if you ask them, what does it take, or what is the job description of a professorship, they actually don't know, and they may not like it. So we need to be careful not to strive for a certain concept without really knowing the content of the concept. Sometimes, and actually for many, it is often a better fit outside of academia or somewhere in between academia and the wider society to find a job that really fulfills what they want to do. So ask yourselves that question from the very beginning, actively reflect about what do I want to do with my career, what do I like to do, where do I see myself developing, and actively construct a network, identify the mentors to also get you there, follow the trainings that you may need, but actively think about this from day one. That will give you the perspective, and that will reduce the uncertainty that you experience.
Well, I think that we are in time to close this session. I would like to repeat my deep thanks to Eva, Matthias, and the previous speakers as well, because I think that it has been a very nice coaching session, because all the things that you said in this different presentations are based on experience from other students or even own experience. So I think that it's very important to share this information with the PhD candidates. And I hope that another important thing for the audience is that Eurodoc is a very large and relevant association, organization, I don't know what is the right word, to support initiative, adapt, or any issue that can improve the PhD race. I would like to finish my time with one thing that Eva put in a very nice pic. The PhD is a race, is a journey that you have a lot of up downs, but you always get the end or the finish of this stage. So please don't hesitate to contact with Eurodoc if you have any issue, because there are very nice people working for other PhD students around Europe. So thank you very much again, and keep in touch, I am sure. So this is the end of the session from today in the European Innovation Fest. Tomorrow will be the last day, and we will have another nice session, in that case with representatives from European University Association. We are going to, and as well from one university and one national contact point, to discuss about internationalization of PhD. I think that as well is a very nice and hot topic, and we would like to learn a little bit more about different opportunities or the next steps in this PhD career in Europe in the next year. So thank you very much again, and keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.